Dear friends, today we have with us Vin Govindan, who is the founder of Everest Funerals, who do funerals for the Indian subcontinental communities in Australia. Vin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Pallavi. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Vin, I want to begin by asking you that how did you decide to start this? Because this is a topic, it's an important topic, but one which is not very often spoken about in our communities, but something that is of importance. So, how did you decide to do this?
I actually worked in a corporate funeral company. So I used to look after all of the multicultural funeral homes in Sydney. And one of the things that was really obvious to me was just how unrepresented we are as a community, the subcontinent community. We don't have, there's not a lot of funeral providers. There's not a lot of, culture specific services around. But I also lost my father about 12 years ago. And I remember how difficult it was because we're grieving, plus we're having to organize things ourselves, and we turn our funerals around very quickly. That's the other thing. So after working in the funeral industry and just, I guess, reflecting on my own personal experience, I wanted to do something to support our community in what's, probably one of the most difficult times that a person can go through is losing a loved one.
Yeah, and can you tell us a bit more about like how one could reach out to Everest Funerals, and if something like this were to happen, what kind of services would you provide, and how to go about it? Because obviously, losing a loved one is one of the most traumatic things that can happen to a person. How is it that you can help and support during that time?
So, as you know, death can happen any time of day or night. So, I'm contactable 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can reach me by mobile or email. You can get those off my website, everestfunerals.com.au. So, what happens is, depending on where the person has passed away, we then arrange for a transfer team to come out and collect your loved one and take it to the mortuary as soon as possible, especially in the warmer months are coming. It's really important to get them into mortuary as soon as possible. And then we meet with the family and we, have a discussion about who that person was, what was important to them, and, what cultural rituals they may want to have performed. And then based on what the family's wishes are, we organize everything. So we are an end-to-end service. So we will come collect the clothing from the family. We will make all the arrangements on behalf of the family, registering the death and obtaining the certified death certificate, to collecting and delivering the ashes after the ceremony. All of that is done by our service, our company. Um, my goal and my aim is to take away as much stress for the family as possible, because they're already, they're grieving and going through so much. My aim is to make sure that everything is done as perfectly as possible. But also, it's not just the ritual side of things. It's about celebrating that person's life, because every single person is special and loved by someone, and it's really a moment to kind of reflect and to celebrate that life, not just to conduct the funeral service.
Yeah, and you do funeral services, with sensitivities around cultures, and especially I think in the profile that I was reading, that the fire, the importance of fire, say in Hindu culture, and so you do organize all of that as well.
All of that. So we'll organize the pandit for the ceremony. We get all of the puja items, and the fire, all of the fire rituals are conducted. We do it as best we can and as close as we can to how it is done back in India. Obviously, there's a few restrictions here just because of, local laws will restrict us from doing certain things, but we try and do as closely as we can, but staying within the confines of what the local laws are.
Yeah, and if I may ask you, Vin, how easy or difficult has this journey been? Because I mean, business itself is difficult in Australia, and to undertake this kind of a enterprise, which is sensitive in nature, and uh, where it's culturally sensitive as well. How difficult or easy has it been so far?
It's been quite difficult. It's one of those things that it's hard to advertise the funeral service because, like you said, there is sensitivities around it, especially when there's things like festive seasons and there's opportunities to advertise. Funeral is not always the best choice, but it's one of those things. It's an important topic and it's an important service that people know exists, because when that time does come, it's such a quick turnaround, and people are often left wondering, who do I turn to, and what do I do? And it's not just during the funeral service, it's even after the service, of having to wind up another person's life. All of those things are quite stressful, and the funeral part especially, it's just the immediate nature of the service. It's good to know who to call so that you've got support right from the time that you need it.
Yeah, and you of course cover all the communities: Hindu, Sikhs, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists. I mean, within
Everything.
from the
Yes.
subcontinent. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So we're experienced in all religions. We do predominantly Hindu funerals, but Buddhist, Christian, Catholic, all of those funerals, well and truly experienced in as well.
Yeah, and you were also mentioning about legacy, and you were mentioning like how people leave digital footprints and things like that, and you were mentioning that you also assist there, like in the sense of of wrapping up things.
Yes. So one of the products we've just recently developed is a legacy planner, and that
Mhm.
legacy planner, it was brought about from the conversations that we've had with families who we've served. And one of the challenges they have is winding up someone's life. And they
Mhm.
often come back and say, I don't know where passwords are, I don't know where accounts are. And 18 months later, we're still trying to navigate through all of that. And so that kind of led me to think, we need to start some education, especially in our community, because this is something we don't do very well. It's the
Mhm.
education around, having a will, having, health directives. So if something were to happen to you, who's going to look after your health decisions if you're not in a position to be able to make those decisions? But then also, who's going to look after the financial decisions? And also just, like, especially digital footprint, that's such a big thing now with, having so many accounts online, and subscriptions that we automatically are paying for. Without those passwords and logins, it's very hard to go in and quickly shut those accounts down, and you often have to wait till the certified death certificate is issued, which can take 6 weeks. Until then, you can't really do much. You're kind of stuck, having to just pay those fees.
Mhm. Yeah. And lastly, Vin, this is not a topic that is discussed in our community very often. How important do you think that people have these conversations? I mean, not it doesn't have to be like very often, but at least at some stage, how important is it that people let their wishes know, so that in case something were to happen, then the family knows what should be done or should not be done depending on the person's wishes.
Yes, unfortunately, it's not always seniors who are passing away. It can happen at any time, and I think it's one of those conversations that we plan for. Our education, we plan our holidays, we even plan what we eat, but something as certain as death, we've kind of refrained from planning for that. But it's such an important thing to do, because it's almost like a gift to the family, because if anything were to happen to you, at least they know what to do, and they don't have to struggle through the process of trying to navigate that in the dark. So I think it's one of these things. It's like taxes. It's a certainty. Everyone's going to pass away one day. It's really important that we have these important conversations with our loved ones.
Yeah, especially with say things like organ donation and things like that. I think it's important to let your family know if that's something that you want to do, or any, I mean, there are many other things like that, but I guess it's probably better to speak with your family, I think.
100%. And I think organ donation is a very important topic because often there'll be conflicting opinions within a family. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the time of someone passing, it's important to honor their wishes. And unless those conversations have been had, it can cause disagreements in family. And that's the last thing you want to be doing when you're already grieving.
Yeah. Vin, thank you so much for speaking with us, and thank you for your service to the community. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
my absolute pleasure. Thank you.